Ori and the Blind Forest is a side-scrolling adventure game developed by the newly formed Moon Studios and published by Microsoft. In Ori and the Blind Forest, the player controls a character named Ori, a so-called white guardian spirit. The story of the game goes, long ago, during a heavy storm, Ori fell into the forest of Nibble from atop the spirit tree. He was very soon discovered and adopted by a bear-like creature named Naru, who raises Ori as her own child. During one fateful night, a cataclysmic event occurs, bringing drought, poisoning the waters, and unleashing hostile creatures into the forest. Shortly after this, Ori decides to venture out to explore and try bringing the forest back to its former lush and peaceful state. During the game, Ori meets a spirit named Sane, who not only guides Ori on his adventure but can attack the enemies as well. The narrative of Ori and the Blind Forest strongly reminded me of a coming-of-age tale, much like that of The Lion King. This is conveyed by being told as a spoken tale by the spirit tree itself about Ori's growth through this time. That approach effectively took me back to when I was read bedtime stories as a kid. Ori may be set up to resemble a simple children's story at face value, but in taking an in-depth look, it becomes much, much more. It's really a very emotionally strong and greatly symbolic tale. The overall writing in this game was also very well done and even threw me for a loop at some parts. For example, during the first act there was a silhouetted creature that followed Ori around in the foreground. After some time, this creature even began to look a bit sinister too. So I went on figuring that it would just be a boss later on, but lo and behold, the game showed me that I still judge a book by its cover sometimes. It actually made me feel bad for assuming I knew it was going to happen in the end. Ori and the Blind Forest is a very endearing and mystical parable that is enjoyable for all generations. This little guy shows the power of kindness and just loves to hand out the feels. Now for the physical feels, the gameplay. As stated before, the supporting character Sane can also attack enemies. This is done by hitting a certain button that makes Sane fire lightning bolts at nearby hostiles. Continuously, Ori can earn XP from receiving spirit light dropped from fallen enemies or found in containers. By collecting enough of these, the player will earn an ability point to upgrade either Ori's or Sane's abilities. In contrast to purchasing ability upgrades, Ori can unlock new skills that can only be found whilst playing through the game. These skills will allow Ori to traverse other areas of the forest, and they include a double jump, a wall jump, a bash, and etc. Ori can also find other collectibles and secrets, much like with the conventions of many other platformers. In addition, Ori can also upgrade life and energy by finding life and energy cells scattered all over. This leads us to the most unique gameplay feature of Ori and the Blind Forest, creating a soul link. Ori has the ability to save his last position in what is called a soul link. To do this, Ori uses one energy cell and creates a save point that the player will revert back to after death. Also, a soul link is the only way for a player to buy upgrades for Ori and Sane. This allows for flexibility of where to save, but this ability also has a cooldown in addition to its energy cost. I very much applaud this feature as it can be a great punishment to the player when they forget it or just use it too much. There are certain save points that do restore health and energy, however, but the soul link is by far a necessity to give any chance of saving the forest. The main platforming gameplay is very reminiscent of older games, and that of course is to be expected, but it's also a bit more difficult than I initially thought. I gotta say, every level in Ori and the Blind Forest is designed quite masterfully with a great unique challenge to boot. The gameplay is never bogged down with monotonous enemies or obstacles that either seem unfair or just downright boring. The controls are so precise and responsive that I would have to compare them to the controls in Mega Man games. And I know it's not hard to tell, but I also noticed the huge influence that Super Metroid has on this game. This is not only conveyed through the gameplay that has been built with awesome design choices, but also within the overall aesthetics of the Blind Forest as well. The game world of Ori and the Blind Forest is set up akin to the so-called Metroidvania subgenre, and such can be seen with the layout of the game map. It gives the world a very mysterious vibe when traversing it, and creates the sense of discovery like the Metroid games always have. The actual game world of Ori and the Blind Forest is fantastically crafted and extremely beautiful, despite it being an entirely 2D game. The Forest of Nebel might be dying, but even still, the environments feel effectively realistic, colorful, and very much alive. Each location is filled with so much wonder and intrigue, I could not help but wander aimlessly around from time to time. More specifically, I found the water effects to be simply brilliant by the realism conveyed. The way the water is shown on the screen appears as if the TV is glass and there's real water on the other side. Continuously, the art style is a very neat hand-drawn quality to it, giving Ori a much more cartoonish charm and feeling like it is from a storybook. For the visuals, it's very interesting to note that according to the game director, Thomas Mailer, the game's backgrounds are all individual components with none duplicated as in other similar titles. He has also explained that each individual object in the environment is its own unique asset. Nothing is reused. As Mailer himself puts it, you see this tree in the background, and this mushroom, and this rock? That's the one and only place you'll ever see those assets. This really shows the amount of time and dedication these developers put into designing the entire forest world of Nebel. I have to say, and I'm not playing this up, Ori and the Blind Forest is the most beautiful side-scrolling game I have ever played. I really commend and give all my praises to Moon Studios for what they've done here. In addition to the visuals, the music in Ori is also just as alluring as the game world. The orchestral score of the game has a very gentle and ambient quality to it, with a touch of sadness mixed in. This makes the game very easy to listen to, and being quite motivating all at the same time. The music does an excellent job to round off a very emotional, atmospheric, and immersive game. The aesthetics, both visually and musically, of Ori and the Blind Forest is by far my favorite part about this game. Wow, you know, I can't find a single aspect of this game that I have a negative view on. Absolutely nothing. Well, there was a graphical glitch that showed a large blue box on the screen during a cutscene, but it never happened again, so I won't take that as a fault. I mean, the story is great for people of practically all ages, and the themes are relevant to anyone out there. The gameplay is very classic like many of the older platforming games from before, with some unique elements. The environment and music is gorgeous and makes one want to get lost in it. I cannot think of anything else. Oh, no loading screens too, but that should be a standard for next-gen 2D games anyway. Ori and the Blind Forest earns a much-deserved and perfect 5 out of 5. If you own an Xbox One, this game is a must-buy. If you still have an Xbox 360, don't worry, a version will be made for that console in due time. You guys did an amazing job on your first game, Moon Studios, and I'm so glad to have played it. Ori and the Blind Forest is a masterfully designed side-scrolling platformer with a touching story and stunning world. This game can teach or reteach anyone that a bit of kindness goes a long way. Thank you for watching my review. Please like the video if you enjoyed, and just check out this game if you have not already.
Die Schuda itasen fana, itso tadwa do